Greetings, welcome to the Thirsty Paige, the podcast always willing to open the floor to second opinions. I'm your host, David Lloyd, and this week on the podcast, we're going to start with some impressions of some of the different things that we've heard about in the Summer Games Fest highlights. We're also going to be covering some recently covered games that we're going to provide perhaps a rebuttal of sorts, and also get into discussions about those. So here with me to provide a voice to all those that have been moaning and groaning after Jordan gave his take on Eiyuden Chronicle, it's Paige Chamberlain.
See, there's a reason he's not here, and it's because he's a coward. That's why.
That's right. Yeah, he had to give his take on Eiyuden when no one was around to rebut anything. I was here, but I never played the game.
Yeah. I'll talk about it later, but I watched his review before I played the game, and then I listened to the pod episode afterwards, although that was a bit ago, so I'm not going to have direct counterpoints, but I'll try not to repeat him too much anyway.
Well, it was funny. It seems there seems to be a clear decisiveness or divisiveness between the camps of people who played the game or played those PlayStation 1 style games, the Suikoden style, and enjoyed it, and then the others that are like Jordan, who has got no time for shenanigans and needs his modernization.
That's what we said though, reviewing games sucks. You're not reviewing it, it's fine.
Yeah. So I also had a good chuckle at some of the YouTube comments on Jordan's
some of them were so One of them was like, because the Switch version performed bad, so they were like, I wish they wouldn't review Switch versions of games on a channel that's called Nintendo World Report.
Yeah.
We can talk about this first, I guess, then, because it's been out for... that's what I was trying to check the release date of, because I think it's a bit over the place, because you had the reviewers had it, the Kickstarter backers got it. I kickstarted Eiyuden Chronicles. I think it's Chronicle. Yes, I keep writing
Chronicle,
too.
Yeah,
Chronicle.
Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes. I always get confused because I feel like it's changed, but
even though there's 120 heroes because they're lies. But because that I kickstarted it. I've never
April
actually
21st. April 23rd. One of the two.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but then I think the American retail release was a bit later. For some, because like Americans were saying it was out this week, and I'm like, but I already know people who've already played it and they weren't reviewing it. I don't know. But anyway, I kickstarted the game. I haven't actually ever played any of the Suikoden games. I just, everyone's like, oh, these guys made the Suikoden games and they're so good at it. And so I backed it. I didn't really keep up with any of the updates or anything. And then it was finally releasing, and I had to spend $53 on shipping.
Nice, eh?
So if I had not kickstarted the game, also I don't have my thing in the credits because obviously I wasn't paying attention to the probably like backer number or something, because obviously I wasn't looking at any of the updates. I don't even get a different cover. Instead of got the Peggy rating sticker instead because it's a European copy. I could have gotten the game a day earlier for like $40 cheaper if I just bought it at retail.
Oh man,
I know a lot of us are very...
it's almost like Square Enix made the game. The way they're treating the Australian consumer base.
Although it looks like I'm gonna get the DLC for free when it comes out, so basically the shipping price different that paid for my DLC. There we go.
It's almost a wash.
It kind of it's not. Yeah. That said, I overpaid for the game and I still liked it. I can't remember. Did Jordan give it a 5 or?
I can look it up while we're talking about it. But
so I can say actually I think it's a 7. Thank you.
Yeah.
Although according to some people,
we could start the debate between whether 5s are actually 7s. Yeah, he did give it a 5.
Yeah. Um, no, I don't think I disagree with like a lot of his points, except for one thing. Because in his review, he talked about complaining about the save system, because it's like save crystals. Which one thing confused me was like that they don't heal you, and I'm like, because I'm like, yeah, I'm so used to like games where the save point also gives you a heal, and I'm like, so I'm like, oh, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And the autosave exists, but it's not very nice. It's like 20 minutes behind, if not more, sometimes.
Oh, really?
I don't know when. I think it must be based on story progress or something. Don't rely on it, basically. But one point was about the annoying that it's manual save only, really, and you're talking about a stealth section. It's a stealth section very early in the game, and I thought it was funny because I was like, oh, I was worried I hate stealth in games, and then I'm like, oh, it was actually quite easy. The only trouble I had with it was going like I wasn't standing in the right spot, so I kind of did this whole dodge segment, and I had to go back to activate the next step and then do that again. But I was like, oh, I was so concerned because I watched it before playing the game. I was like worried about that, and then I'm like, oh, this was actually really easy. I actually don't think I had many, if like any, game overs. It's like maybe that I can remember. I did play it on normal and not hard, but I don't. Maybe like a boss or something. But yeah, I didn't. It was never a concern, the save system for me, it being manual, other than having to do it. But I already got it at the PlayStation, so I played it on the PS5 because back when the Kickstarter was up, they were like, "Well, we're not putting this on the Switch. We'll put it on a Switch 2 if there is one." And that was a few years ago when the Switch was fairly new. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely not getting a Switch version of it. And I think one of the other problems he had might have been a bug, because he was talking about the random encounter rate. And there was a bug during the review period where the random encounters were tied to your like the refresh rate or something. So a lot of PC players had hardly any random encounters, and then I think a lot of the Switch reviewers had too many random encounters. So, which is a interesting thing. I think he just didn't. I mean, I do understand your review of a classic style game and calling it like a 5 and being like not impressed, and then everyone giving you backlash and saying, well, you mustn't like those kind of games at all then, because I did that with a game called RFL, I think, and I just thought it was okay. It was just like an RPG maker game, and I just I just thought it was pretty average, and people were very upset about the 5 or 2.
Oh, it's funny. This is the first time I've read Jordan's review, because we did the review basically in the podcast, so I didn't bother reading it. Now I'm reading it, and I'm like, man, he was much more savage in his written review, because he's just trashing this thing. That's crazy. Outside of the character designs, the world is boring and lifeless. The overworld is particularly guilty of being bland. Yeah,
that's when I'll talk about it a little bit. Like it's really funny because I went to the prequel game after this, and the graphics are so much better in the prequel game.
Oh, really?
which is fair, because it's like a 2D platformer, but it's just so funny because it looks so nice. And then you go into this game, although the characters are better in this. Like the sprite work in 100 Heroes is a lot better, because in Rising it's like the movement looks really weird. You get used to it when you're playing it, but it's like they're like,
well, it's like Flash mobile style.
Yeah, they're like little puppet doll type. It's really weird looking at it. Whereas 100 Heroes, it's got really good sprite works and all sorts of animations for the characters. It's really good. So yeah, like I said, I backed it. I didn't actually have any experience with Suikoden though, so I can't compare it to that. And those remasters aren't out yet. They got
they got delayed.
We haven't heard about it for some time. And honestly, if it doesn't happen soon, because now that I've played 100 Heroes, I'm like, okay, I really do want to play the Suikoden games. And I'm like, if they don't come out this year, I'm gonna just go on my Vita store and buy them, because they're much cheaper that way, and I'll just deal with it without the quality of life issue fixes that might be in the remasters. We don't know.
I actually own them both myself, and I don't remember where I bought them. I remember I think I bought one on the Vita, and then maybe one on my PS3.
Yeah, because they're still on that store, but not the other one. So trying to buy stuff on the Vita is ridiculous. You gotta it really doesn't. You gotta put the money on via your PS5 or 4, and then you can. They don't want you to use the store. Whereas I can't remember when it's shutting, when the Xbox 360 store is shutting, but like that's real. Like, once you put in your password, it's so easy because I just connected to my PayPal account. And it's like bam. Although the shop itself is a whole nother story, but yeah, that's what happens when they're dying and they're being let go. But yeah, like you said, yeah, 100 Heroes is sort of an old school RPG. You've got 6 party members out, and some of them have some combo moves, which I actually didn't use a lot. Certain circumstances I did, but not super often. And I think my one of the complaints I think I share was, some of the inventory management, things like that. Eventually, yeah, you get a home base, you upgrade things, and all that sort of starts to come together and not become a problem. You can also have like those support guys, so you can literally carry a guy in a bag around, and he'll tag along and be in some of the cutscenes for some reason, and which made me sad because there's a couple characters where they take up 2 slots in the party because they're that big, basically. One of which is a dragon. She was my favorite. Actually, that's the combo attack I probably used the most. That I like. Your main character Noah, I just kept dive bombing into her, with her.
Yeah.
That was my main thing towards the end of the game, and so you messing around with So I think his problem was why are this just not things that you can have? Whereas I found like it was an option, if bag space was more important to you, you'd pick this versus wanting to I kept picking a character. Some of those support skills only activate randomly, and some of them are permanently on or a choice. Like one was I could increase my combat speed because I'd have some characters that would, you'd take a few hits before you could attack some guys. So I used the pocket watch character, and but I could use theirs pretty much every time. So it wasn't quite someone would be like, "Oh, it's a random buff," and sometimes it's whenever you want one. I thought the random ones could be really annoying because you just walk into a random mechanic that's easy as heck, but you've got to wait for this extra animation to go through now because they're like, "Oh, here's an extra skill." I don't know, the main magic sort of system is like rune lands or whatever. So you've got your health, you've got your magic points, and then you've also got the rune lands, which is sort of like a builds up every turn kind of resource. So you do some normal attacks for a bit, and then you can use the special skills basically. And she's throwing that at me, and I'm like, I don't even need it. That's one thing I found. Some people said the game was hard and they're playing it on normal, and I didn't think it was really hard at any. There was bits definitely the healing. I think because you've got limited inventory space. You've got big stretches where you're not going anywhere. You're not getting a free or a paid heal at the inn or something. And your MP, I had a couple characters that could heal basically just because it was such a they just you eat up all the MP, and then you don't really have many items to even fix that up. So I guess, but I'm like, I don't think I'm really good at these games, but I wasn't finding it hard. I thought it was sort of just right. I mean, I really didn't didn't really have much in the way of losing. So then when it comes to upping the difficulty in RPGs, I'm like, is it actually any fun if I do that? Because I remember trying on some things and then just being like, this isn't actually fun to put it on the hard mode. I'll just go with being slightly easy. And so I really liked the combat system. That was really fun. I liked the dungeons a lot too. I feel like there wasn't that many in the end, but I liked I'm not a really big puzzle hater, but none of them were too hard. There was actually one where there's puzzles where it was they actually didn't have enemies attack you, which was was thankfully good because it was sort of a sliding puzzle thing, and that would have been extra annoying. I don't feel like I had as much trouble with some of the things he complained or talked about, but I do have other things to complain about that weren't really mentioned at all. Outside of that, I don't think a lot of the extra systems are good. The kingdom building is sort of whatever. It's fine. It took a while till I eventually fit. It's with the recruiting system can be a bit weird. I know people said it's definitely not as difficult as the Suikoden games where they were timed, invisible timers and stuff for some characters. But I did miss one of them where there was sort of a window where you got to talk to this character when she's in one part of your castle to activate the quest, and then I never did that. And then by the point I'm looking up, I wanted to get all the guys. It was too late. And the good ending is tied into having all the guys.
Yeah.
It's basically your little jerk sister won't show up unless you've recruited every other hero. And there was a chef minigame which they have patched, but I went through all of that to try and get her on, and then found out that was a complete waste of time because I was already past the point of not getting up a particular character, and I wasn't playing through 10, 20 hours. Going to back. I was only. I think the game was 40 hours for me. So, yeah, going back another 10 hours to go back to the point where I could maybe get that character. I was just not doing it,
So you watched the good ending on YouTube, I guess?
I think it's a minor difference. It's not like you don't have a bad ending. It's just that something happens if you don't have all the people there and your sister stops something from happening. And changes, there's a whole epilogue at the end where it shows the characters, and this character went on and married some sweet girl from the town and da-da-da. And any characters you hadn't met, it's just question marks of what they're doing, because there was a few. But yeah, the recruitment system I thought was okay, other than some missable ones here and there. And then there was some involved going back to the dungeons. And this one guy was hiding really good, because I'd looked him up and they said that he was originally a missable one until that got fixed in a patch, I think. And you're going in, it's at the edge, you gotta walk, because on the maps there's a lot of bits where you see that you can walk there on the map because it's shown, but there's no reason to walk there. It's just a little extra dip. It's just the map shows the actual physical walkable parts on the mini-maps. And yeah, he's literally tucked in down there, and then he's just sitting there, and it's so even if you go back to the dungeon, because you think that's what I discovered whenever I got a break between stories and I wasn't restricted, I was I'm gonna go look around, and then I was picking up people nothing. The game actually kind of tells you, we should get more people before you advance on. But a couple times it was I almost didn't need to do that too much because I'd already kind of done it. So there's some just a bit weird spots, or you have to just walk around your town and then a scene will start, and then you can start finding them. Or very funny, there's a very early one I missed actually, Melora, because I went back and then I picked up a bunch of these characters who were actually, you could have gotten them much earlier in the game because their level was quite low, and I'm because I didn't go back to the starting town immediately, because you just had to walk into that part of town to start, and I'm there's no reason for me to walk on that side of the town anymore. But I picked one up, and then I was trying to figure out what to do, because it was she's at the canyon, so I go all the way through this canyon area again, she's not there. So now, because there's a point in the game where eventually you get quick travel, and because I'm meant to find her where she is, she's from way before you get quick travel, I have to manually walk through the front of the gates to trigger her to then go to that location. So that was just a funny little oversight where it's but I'm further in the game, so I've just fast traveled and then gone, why is she not here? Because at the point I'm supposed to see her, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
So I haven't thought of that. But yeah, some of the mini games are really not good, any of them at all. The card game is okay. The card game was really funny. I was sort of, because I played a bit of Balatro, I sort of understand it, because you're making poker hands, I guess. It's you've got some cards and you're making little sets of 3 cards in four different piles or something like that. And then once you get different cards, they'll have effects, so they'll be worth extra points. So you basically just try to put a little pool together of worth more points than whatever they're setting down. And I was struggling with it a little bit, but then I just did stuff, and you don't need to beat a bunch of people at the game to unlock the character that's tied to that. You just need to buy a lot of the cards, booster packs or whatever. And she showed up and I beat her first try, and I was oh thank God. Because I was oh man, I just needed better cards. But someone else said, but maybe they're not so bad, but the game does really not explain it to you at all. There's this spinning top game called Bagoma, and you don't really control anything. Basically, people just said wait to the end of the game where you've got actual good ones, because it's just, you need high quality ones to beat theirs. You need to have more health than theirs, basically, because you're not really doing anything most of the time. And then there's these ugly little things, I forget what they're called. I'm just going to search the Eiyuden Racing to see what they are. Where it's not chocobo racing, eggfoots. They're really Like they're not cute at all, but they're meant to be sort of like chocobo racing.
And then again, that's we like, have chocobos at home version.
Yeah, they're they're not cute, and then that's sort of about collecting eggs and breeding but like it's I think it's about the breeding more than about like the racing. So at the start you're just like, well, this sucks, or what, and the cooking one was a whole other thing, where it's like you're collecting recipes throughout the world, and then you can like enter this really long segment for this one guy to get another character, where basically 3 of your townspeople are judges, and then you've got to pick foods from your list and hope they like them. And you don't know, really, because you're like, what do you mean I didn't make it bad? But it's literally they just have their own taste, and that's entirely what they judge it on. Eventually, I realized before they've patched it, you could just make 3 different egg dishes, and you would win every time. Your score would be all over the place, but like you would still beat the guy you're competing against because they would have set dishes too. Oh. So I just did that and got through it. But like you have to wait like 15-20 minutes till the next one shows up. And I was just doing this to try and get I was reaching sort of the end of the game, and I was like, I'm just trying to get the last few guys. So I'd wasted a couple of hours doing this. And it wasn't fun or anything. And I think that's the main mini games. And then this, because it's like a spiritual successor of Suikoden, there's also these little war battles and some duels, and I don't think any of those were good either. The war battles, most of them, you like basically it was like totally okay for me to lose because it was like the guys retreated anyway, so you only had to like try properly for a couple of them, where it's sort of you have your little guys on the grid and you position them to walk towards the other group of guys and wail at each other while you wait in real time for like their health and stuff to go down. Like there's a little bit of control further on, but it's not much, and it just sort of felt like, what's the point of this? It's really boring.
Yeah.
And then there's these duels where you have the choice between attacking, countering, or eventually meter fills up and you break, and then that progresses the fight on and it looks really flashy and cool. But it's very annoying. I like figure because the first a couple of times you could like lose at them and it was fine, and then they come to the point in the game where they actually matter, whether or not I win or lose. So I had to retry them. At least, thankfully, it was like you could retry that fight and you didn't have to do the boss fight beforehand because that would be really annoying. But it's based on what they say. So if they say this, you should counter, or and it's just. It was like, yeah, it was just weird. And like it just like they looked really flashy, but it was just, I guess they put it in because it had to be like the other games.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's things that they probably figure people are looking for this or looking, expect certain things from old games that they're like, well, we have to do this regardless,
It's also very much a Kickstarter game because you've got all the animals and like they'll have names that are in lowercase and stuff like that. And like that's fine, but there's also like portraits or weird statues with weird names, and it's like, yeah, because someone paid thousands of dollars to put this in the game. So I hope the sequel's not Kickstarter. They did say they want to work on a sequel. So yeah, I did want to bring out the other flaws of the game, which is all the content besides regular RPGing just isn't that fun to me, but I did really like it overall. I liked the exploring and like going out of my way and picking up extra things, and I liked the combat pretty well. And so I didn't have too much trouble with it. It's got lots of really good sprite work and scenes like that. I like the enemies themselves are kind of like 3D though, which is a bit of an interesting juxtaposition. And I really like the design of some of them too, the enemies. But yeah, so I don't think it's like, wow, it's a fantastic game, but like it's definitely got its flaws, but I did really like it. Oh no, I just remembered another main flaw that he didn't so for some reason your main character walks so slow. Like so slow. And then in the first dungeon you pick up these dash boots. So you have to have them equipped in order to like walk around properly, like, at a speed that is not so awfully slow. Like so bad.
Final Fantasy VI is like that too.
That's not really a super big problem because you've got this other system, like the rune system, where you level up and you can put in runes, and that's kind of like a secondary equipment thing. So like he still has like some stuff he can slot in that's not tied to the fact that I'm keeping the shoes on at all times. But there's points in the game, because you've got those two other characters on the cover, where you're playing as different groups, and they don't have the dash, so they're very slow. Sometimes basically the way inventory work is just sort of shared, so you go and have the same like the what's in your bag and stuff is still there, but not what's on the individual persons. Like, you'd have to take that off and put it in your bag. But if you don't know before, like, there's a couple points where you don't have the prep time to go back and like give them the dash boots, or like you're split up into 3 groups, so you can't do that. Like, there's a couple times where that happens. So I'm just walking so painfully slow because, like, yeah. So that's pretty awful. That's the main time where it was like actually a problem. And I feel like I've forgotten another thing, but yeah, the splitting. Yeah, the character. There's a lot of time. You have so many characters, but it requires you to like use specific ones for a lot of the story. And I did find a way, because there's like this third segment where you put them as an attendant. So technically, you can put some of the main guys, like the main 3, as attendants. So you could use other characters in the battle if you wanted to, and they're just sort of technically in the party still. But that's the only people that can fit in there. But I did find that at one point it got so bad, because it's again 6-person party. Like, it required me to have 5 specific characters for that segment, and I was just like, why? Because one thing is that the characters have a range. So some of them have short, medium, and long, because there's 2 rows of the enemies when there's a lot of enemies. So that, and then there's 2 rows of you guys. So that if they're in the long range, they can hit anyone, but the other better be at the back. And medium range can go either, but short range has to be at the front if they want to hit anyone at all. Like, medium range at the back could only hit people in the front. Medium range at the front can hit people in both rows. Yeah. So a lot of characters I just didn't end up using because they were short range, and with the exception of a couple of characters I really liked, I was like, go away. You're useless. Like, I can't have too many of you, otherwise I literally can't attack, So I did get very annoyed that the force composition, because I had this team that was working really well for me. And then they're like, no, we're doing a story moment here, so it has to be this way. I had to remember, who was on my, took a picture and be like, hey, this is who's on my team, to put them back on.
So
and yeah, there has. Aside from that, they did put love into it. What's really funny is you have your little extra characters, and then they'll have a random line to say during the story scene. Sometimes they'll throw something out for every character, and the game's fully voice acted. Aside from there's some pop-up text when you walk into a new area, on the bottom screen, and that happens a lot. That's the only thing that's not voiced. There's literally a theater you can build, and you have players of Little Red Riding Hood, Romeo and Juliet, and every character can play every role, and then they'll be playing as their character playing in the play.
Man,
that
the
is
voice
crazy.
acting budget must have been a few bucks.
It would have been huge. Yeah. Also, the audience did not appreciate me putting the Red Riding Hood as a wolf and a little girl as the wolf. They did not like that, apparently.
They didn't like the flipped roles?
No, they did not. They did not appreciate art, I tell you. Do you remember what you were going to say before I cut you off?
No, I was just going to say that. So basically, your assessment is not the same as Jordan's, where he calls it hot garbage. You're saying it's a solid 7 game, or it's a good game anyway.
It's flawed. Like I said, there's some design decisions where you're like, what the hell? I don't mind things he didn't like the safe system, but the other ones the dash boots, where it's why, or the forced character thing that kind of ruined the joy of having 100 guys that you can put in your party. Some things that you can miss. The only things that really let me down was all that extra stuff. The stuff that was besides a normal sort of bread and butter RPG was not fun. Not
it's
good.
currently got a 78% positive rating on Steam. So I mean, the people buying the game clearly enjoying it or at least the majority of them are anyway. It's still got a mostly positive rating. So
yeah, and I liked it so much I then jumped into the prequel game, which is not the way you should do it, because the prequel game actually came out first. It was one of those ones where they kickstart a game and then do stretch goals, and they hire out another team to make the game.
Yeah.
So that happened with like Bloodstain and Curse of the Moon, which was so good I got a sequel. But I immediately played Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which I was gonna say shouldn't do second because there is a very tiny minor little things that carry over into 100 Heroes, but that only applies if you start 100 Heroes. Like it's after you beat, like the save data. It's only if you from the start of the game. Yeah, so I can't use it at all, which is sad. I did like those characters show up in 100 Heroes too, and they had an optional dungeon that was really fun. It gave me heaps of really good items, so I liked that too. I definitely tried to do all the extra stuff I could do in 100 Heroes, but Rising, on the other hand, is like a 2D action kind of a platformer. I guess like there's some time. I'm saying not really a platformer. Like there's bits where you got to jump to climb up over things, but it's not. There's no bits where there's pits or like anything like that. Where I'd say like what makes a platformer where that actually matters. It's more just like this little level design of the dungeon, main dungeon and stuff. And I knew about this when it came out, and all I heard was sort of that it's an errand runner, and there's lots of back and like it's literally just fetch questing the game.
Yep.
Which is sort of my thing, but I didn't get it when it came out, and I got this because it was like $9 on the PlayStation Store on sale, and it wasn't on something like I would have preferred it for the Switch, like this kind of game, but it just wasn't on sale on that at the time anyway. But aside from like I said, I talked about the design of the characters where they're like connected at the joints, and once you actually play in the game, that doesn't bother you too much, but it is just funny how much prettier the backgrounds and the world is, because like the overworld in 100 Heroes is really so bland. Like when you're on the big map, it's funny, and then you go into this and it's super pretty. But yeah, it is literally like an action RPG, and you start with the one character CJ, and you're building up the town. Like you're going in, building up the town, you're building up resources. So that's what it's all fetch questing, because there's a stamp card system. The only letdown for me in that game was that once I filled up all the stamps, the reward I got was just another copy of something I got for beating the game, because I played it a bit longer to get that. And then all the quests are basically repeat, so you can get more, because like that's the only way you make money too, is doing the requests for people. And I was burning through the money pretty badly, so obviously they did, you're redoing the quest again, like that knowledge that with dialogue, but like just putting it back in because people are doing the post game, which is basically it's got a pretty high like percentage of like platinum rate. I think it was like 11% or something, because I think it's literally just the difference is after you beat the game you unlock hard mode. And it was like the only reason I wasn't gonna do it, because it was all like get characters to max level, beat these bosses on hard mode, and the last two bosses I was like, I don't want to fight these guys again. Not like maybe the final boss wasn't too bad, but like the third boss is like this lava worm, so you can only touch him from like his head. And I was having such a hard time because with the characters I was using, because like if you're under him, you get hurt. You're on the side, you get hurt. Like it's very, very specific. You have to be kind of patient. But basically, so you play as CJ, and then you eventually get 3 characters, and they're all kind of tied to a button. So when you press a different button, it switches to the other character. So you've got the heavy character with the big heavy attacks, which you use for specific rocks and shields and stuff like that. And then a ranged character, so I used her for like some of the explodey guys. But I'm mostly stuck with CJ because she's fast. She eventually unlocks more dashes. Like I think towards the end of the game, I got the air dash, and I joked that it was finally playable, even though I was liking the game, just because it was like you finally felt the freedom of movement. So you could just go and do all the things you like. You could just like jump and slash and keep going. There's a very fun combo system where you like time one of the other characters in at the right time when you hit, and then they hit extra hard, and like that's good for getting the boss's health down. And you upgrade all that stuff to become pretty tough, really. And so I really liked it. It was just an action RPG. You level up, you collect. The fetch questing is very funny though, because literally one time this guy's like, "Can you bring it to this guy?" And the guy's in their usual slow. They're like, "I can't find this person," and then their usual spot. And there's one person, like he's technically off screen, but he wasn't an entire screen away. Like he took a couple steps, you could see that guy right there. And he's like, "Can you pass this to this person?" And I'm like, "Oh my god." And there's not too much, I think, extra content. Like there's fishing, but you don't control it. You sort of do. You just press buttons in an order. It's not hard. And I didn't mind the early game, it kind of sucks the most because you kept getting like walled off. Like I'm like, yes, I can finally go to this area, and they're like, oh, we better head back, and I'm like, but I don't want to. Like, I want to keep going, or like something stops you. But eventually, like, yeah, you get like sort of maybe like quarter in, and then halfway through the game, like you got all your stuff, and it's like it's just fun. It's pretty easy. Like I said, you don't get the hard until after you beat it. But it was just really fun, and that was I think a 10-hour game. And then yeah, like the
I do want to point out
semi-funny.
that Jordan gave this rated this game higher than 100 Heroes. I was just looking it up because I was like I thought I had written the review for Nintendo World Report at the time, because I remember coming out, we both played it, and I don't think we were like kind of meh on it at the time, and then I must have done a review for either the podcast or the Mage or something, but yeah, I was reading it now, and yeah, he gave it a 6 out of 10, where he gave 100 Heroes a 5 out of 10. So canonically, Jordan prefers Rising to 100 Heroes.
That's funny. Yeah, I say for a $9 game, it's damn good. I say I wouldn't maybe pay I wouldn't pay the full price that the Australian price is for it though. Like you get it on sale though. I just want like a fun little action RPG that's not too hard. Yeah, I really liked it, especially like I knew that it was fetch questy coming in. Like that's sort of the whole system. Is you just pick up like 600 quests, and then you go out and you do them all, and then you come back. And I would like just buy the food instead of sleeping to heal, because if I slept to heal, my bath buff came off, and that cost money to bring my attack up. So I was like, no, because I'm perpetually broke because I was perpetually upgrading my stuff. One little touch I liked though was when you went to fight a boss a second time, they added something. So like when I went back to the tree, if I walked past it every time, like then they added a spider when it wasn't there in the first fight. I was glad that they didn't make me do. There was like one bit where you do the boss fight and then they make you stop and go back, and I'm like, I swear to God, if I have to fight this guy again, but you don't actually have to fight him again. So thankfully, because it was not too hard, but I used all my healing items during it, so I was like, no. But yeah, I liked both the Eiyuden Chronicle games. I'm looking forward to the DLC, because one of the DLC is like a fun character for 100 heroes. Although it's funny, on the PlayStation Store, you kept getting like these pop-ups, which are clearly like their social media posts, but it keeps giving me 100 heroes ones for Rising.
Oh yeah.
And it's very funny because it'll ask you a question, but you can't comment on the PlayStation, so it's clearly like whatever they're posting on Twitter. But like, But yeah, I think the DLC is coming out this year, and like one of them is like the necromancer guy, and you get like this towards the end of the game. 100 heroes, you get this sort of like it's important to do for the story, because you're kind of wiping out one of the armies basically by doing this. But if you go into this area, it's almost Castlevania looking, and you go like he sort of vaguely hints at his backstory, but don't really get that. So yeah, hopefully we get to know for sure what sort of happened in the DLC, or just get to see more of him, because it's just funny having like a skeleton guy. He's like, you should be my thralls, and then there's like this young chick who tries to make him her thrall. But yeah, so I do like the Eiyuden Chronicle games, and definitely want more. And I'm also looking forward to the Suikoden remasters. Like I said, if they don't come soon, I might just play it, because now I'm into it. And hopefully the jewels,
you're a convert.
Like the extra stuff. Hopefully the extra stuff in the originals might be better than the successor. Yeah.
Just give you more PS1 era games.
Yeah, apparently. Although, yeah, I'm just gonna have to get them one way or the other though, because like the prices of PS1 RPGs are something else. Oh my God.
I know, they're insane.
I was gonna say, we're not gonna talk about it now, but I actually looked at the price of like us playing a game on NSO for Paper Mario, and that's like 500 Australian dollars for a PAL copy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's more expensive than some of my most expensive games for that system.
If you want a cheap retro game, you gotta go to the PS2 era. That's pretty much where the prices fall off.
That's like I've got a pretty good Xbox 360 collection, because a lot of those games are quite cheap. There's like a few exceptions here and there, but like a lot of them cheap.
Well, it's great too if you have the physical copies, because now you can just throw the disc into your Series X, and the majority of those Xbox 360 games are just up-resed on the Series X now. So
I think that's
I had
also why
started
I
playing Final Fantasy 13 that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I started. I had such a big Wii collection too, because I was, on the Wii U drought, so I was just picking up all these games for cheap that I could play on it, basically. But we shouldn't be in too much of a drought, because a lot of games got announced at our not E3 this year. We're still waiting on the Nintendo Direct though. They just said it's June. They haven't even given us a date at this point, so I don't know if it's coming up this week or not. But we had Summer's Games Fest, there was Day of Devs, there's Future Game Show, PC Game Show, which had a lot of shooters. There was Xbox, there was women-led games, Latin American games, like a heap of different shows that I'd mostly skimmed through, because like I said, the only one that was at a reasonable time for Australians was the Summer Games Fest, and everything else was not happening.
But I want to thank you. You've made us a nice hit list here of things that stand out. So it's
yes, I made a list of the things that were particularly interesting to me. There were some other things that were also interesting, but like a lot of these are quite far out. Some of them probably have demos, so we might play the demos and see how we feel as well. But one of the highlights from Xbox was Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which is a turn-based game, which it looks like it has sort of a...
it has a Paper Mario style to it, I think, because it has the time-based attacks. I don't know whether
command battle system or something. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it's got some inputs during the turn-based combat, and the story is sort of like the population's sort of getting wiped out, because every year people of an age lower get wiped out. So it's good to see another turn-based RPG that's... I don't know if it's Western made or not, but it has sort of a look that people are saying it looks like some of those Xbox. It's looking like some of those Xbox 360 RPGs, like the visuals.
Yeah, I think I read that I think I read that the dev is actually in France.
Yeah. So that would explain the Eiffel Tower at the start of the trailer.
Yes,
I think it's actually set in an alternate Earth or something.
It also seems to have the voice cast from Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, someone said Clive's in there. Someone said Shadowheart's in there.
Oh yeah, I was recognizing lots of voices when. Well, Clive was the one that stuck out the most, because I think Clive was the narrator of because he was the older guy that was basically narrating what was happening. But I heard him, and then I don't remember her name, but the voice of Shadowheart definitely stood out. I think she was one of the younger looking characters that was with him.
Yeah.
But it looks really good. The design is very unique. It stands out. But it also kind of reminds me of the new Atlas game to a certain extent.
Yes, that's what I thought. I was looking at it, and I'm they're taking Atlas UI design class. And so that's probably a while away, but that is exciting. That was for me, it was one of the things that was actually new to me. That wasn't shown at all beforehand.
Nice. It's on all it's on all the consoles that would be able to handle it anyway.
Yeah.
PS5, Steam, and Xbox. But it says it'll be a Game Pass game, which is nice. So
yes, I think pretty much everything for Xbox was a Game Pass game.
Yeah.
But that was really nice. I'm looking forward to that. Mariachi Legends is Mexican Castlevania. That's basically all I really need to say.
That is the best description.
Yeah.
But
other than
pretty,
the sprite work, it's so pretty. The sprite work and the action all looks so good. So I'm also looking forward to that. The only thing the Devolver's presentation I cared about was the Cult of the Lamb Unholy Alliance update. So local co-op is coming on August. I think it was 18th or mid-August anyway. And my husband said that if I beat the game, that we can get matching butt tattoos of the lamb and the goat. So there's something really important. Something really important writing on that. So
yeah,
it was really funny though, because they said they were teasing it, and I was like, I didn't think of anything, but they're trying to organize to get on Twitter they're trying to organize to get someone to get married, and then I'm like, oh, that was the tease, that they're trying to get someone married to promote the Unholy Alliance update. I thought that they were just doing that because they just.
Okay.
I thought it was tied to the fact that they just did a baby making update, so I thought, oh, that's why they're doing it. No, it's literally that was like the tease for like they're gonna, yeah. So hopefully whoever gets that wedding has a fun one.
Yeah.
And then another games and piece of games show. There's a lot of games where like stuff was shown, and then I'm like, well, I don't care. There's no release date. And then at one of the other shows, they'd show the release date, and I'm like, oh, okay. So one game that's been on my Steam wish list for 5 years is Tactical Breach Wizards, and that game is finally coming out on August. 22nd.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you how useless Google was even before they're doing the AI stuff? Because you type in Tactical Breach Wizard date and then it says 3rd of June.
Oh, really?
And the same thing, I searched Dawn Trail and then it gave me the date of the blog post that tells you the release date. And not the release date that's useful in the blog. Yeah. Because it comes up in big text with like, this is what it is. And it's like, no, it's not. But that's like a tactical game where you're like, right, there's a right priest,
Yeah.
they're in,
it's funny.
Tactical gear and magic, and
yeah, it's really. So I just watched the trailer for this one. It was pretty neat. Like, yeah, there's like a necromancer and then a wizard, and it's all these kind of weird, magical characters. But then they're acting like basically they're dressed up like SWAT. So like you got like this character that has this massive shield, and you have a person has a sniper rifle, but it's got like a magic wand sticking out of the barrel as opposed to like bullets. But and it plays just like
someone's in a high vis robe.
Yeah. It looks great. I mean, there's a lot of humor to it, obviously, in the trailer, and but yeah, it looks. It's funny. It kind of reminded me of Hard West 2 I just played. I think it was last year. And it looks just like it, where you see the characters like on the kind of in that isometric look, and you're like running in and out of different rooms and stuff. But then it also shows you like a laser pointer of who you can shoot and stuff like that. So I just added this to my wish list. I hadn't heard of this before you put it on that list, but then I watched the trailer. I thought it was
the game that's been on my wish list the longest, but it's like the 4th longest. There's some other stuff that I haven't bothered picking up. This is the one that hasn't released that I've been waiting on the longest.
It looks right up my alley, though. It looks amazing.
Yeah, so it's gonna August looks like it's gonna be busy. Honestly, there's a few things that got August dates. So it's like, oh jeez. I thought that was gonna give me a break because there's so much stuff I'm picking up this month. A game that was shown, I think, in the piece of gaming was Wonder Stars, which, aside from one of the comments in the trailer, which was that the voice actors don't sound very enthusiastic, I thought was interesting. It reminds me of a game I haven't played, but I recently learned about a game called Legend of Legaia, where you sort of pick, you're targeting certain points to attack, and then this one, instead of that, you're using words instead, so you're going do this action here to this part, sort of thing. But that does look interesting because it's a turn-based RPG, but with that sort of system. So we'll see how it actually pans out, and hopefully.
Oh, that's that's the anime one, right?
Yeah, the one where they were saying it's kind of anime, but it was looking sort of like between anime and cartoon, where it's like, okay, this person's clearly got like a Goku face on, but yeah. And then like I said, one of the games
aesthetic for sure.
Yeah, well, they're writing it in the trailer. They're saying it's an anime. You're playing an anime, so.
Yeah.
Which I guess was part of maybe what inspired the action system, the combat system, yeah. And Demon School has a date for September the 13th, which is a Friday the 13th. So that was one of the ones, they were doing like videos, like there was like, oh, here's what some of the bosses are like, here's what some of the characters are. I'm like, I don't care. But then in the PC gaming show, they actually said when it's coming out, because back when I was doing reviews, I was like, put myself down. It's like, oh, I'll do that because it was supposed to come out earlier. And then it didn't, so I'll just buy it and enjoy it on my own time, thank you. And then I won't get stressed out about. I really like tactics games, but I'm not good at them. So I guess this should be up your alley. It's kind of like Monarch, it's a tactical game, and they're in school, and it's creepy demons and stuff.
Yeah. I put this on my wish list too because again, I definitely enjoyed the tactics games. This one, it was tough to, I don't know, I felt like the trailer didn't do it justice though, because I guess it was trying to show off like all the different things it could do, because there's obviously like a story component to it, and there's like a tactics based combat, it seems, but then there's also like walking around and searching for things, and I'm sure there's puzzle mechanics and stuff from the looks of it, so it's got a lot going on, that's for sure.
Yeah, but like there's some other videos about too. Like I said, they did a video talking about like there's this one boss, and you got to like step back every so often because they're gradually like destroying the sphere. So you're kind of on a time pressure even, and there's like a lot of insta kills and stuff. So we'll see how I go with it. One of the things that was surprising as a game that only somewhat recently got revealed was Kunitsugami, which is by Capcom, and it's sort of this Japanese, very Japanese style mythological sort of defense game. Where I guess you're in this town and you're like warding off these very, very creepy, cool looking monsters from attacking your town. And I'm not super in defense games, but I really like the look of it because it's sort of like, the style they went with Monster Hunter Rise, where it's very Japanese, but then they've really gone all out on the mythological, creepy looking guys.
This
and I was
one's
just surprised
strange
that it was suddenly like, oh, by the way, it's out next month, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah. It kind of almost looks like there's definitely a defense mechanic to it, because there's shows like where there's like enemies coming at you and there's certain characters that you have to defend, but it also kind of looks like some kind of hybrid, because it doesn't look like a tactics, very like it looks a lot like
sort of real timey,
yeah, it's like a real-time action RPG, but then there's like I think you can tell certain characters to do things, and then there's characters that you have to protect. So the trailer was showing like these shields going up when the demons were like coming at certain characters, but then there was like guards that you could establish tactics for, and I guess like you could probably like set them up to do like attacks in a certain area or something, but the main character that you're controlling seemed to be like, it definitely wasn't like a turn-based, like it looks like very much in the realm of like some kind of action combat. So
and it, I just forgot. I don't think it's actually the case, but it almost feels like it's sort of like what some of the people that developed Rise might have been working on, not just because of the art, but also like they had that defense section in the Rise segments where you were like fighting, like stopping hordes of monsters getting to a certain point. So it really just feels like some people who were working on that were like, actually, I want to make just to that game or something. So I'll have to see if it gets a physical release in Australia, but it is on Steam at least. I sort of have a semi-limit, like it's not a hard limit, but I don't like to pay more than 40 something for a digital only game, and I don't like to pay more than $100 for a game.
Yeah, and it's Capcom, so you almost wonder if it'll be a full price game,
I think it's 75 Australian dollars digitally on Steam when I looked.
Oofty.
So pretty much price, except now, nowadays the physicals of like PlayStation games in Australia are like $110, $125. But normally the full price was sort of sitting at 80 to or so. So I don't know if we'll get a physical here for me, but we'll see. Like we said, we're still waiting on Nintendo. There were some other things, but I'm going to try out some demos and see if I have anything to say about them.
Yeah, it's a good time of the year. Like the demos, I was on Steam myself and seeing all these different demos, and like
because they're almost doing like someone said, demos are in vogue again now. And Steam's been doing Next Fests where they so that hasn't quite started yet. But you have like demos, but then they're limited time. So then half the time I don't even like get to play them before they get taken off my account.
Yeah.
So I'll see how these ones go. But yeah, a lot of the trailers for these games will like play the demo on Steam, wishlist it, play the demo. So that's really come into style now, I guess, to do it again.
Well, it's funny because I don't know, was it Nintendo that it's like, oh, if you're part of the NSO, then you get access to demos that you wouldn't otherwise, or something. Like one of the major platform holders, I think, was doing that, and I'm like, really, like
PlayStation and
you're gating
Nintendo and
demos?
stuff. I think maybe PlayStation.
Yeah, maybe it was
but
them.
like both of them are doing like trials where it's like you download a game for a weekend or a certain amount of time, and then it cuts you off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we've. There's more news. There's not. Yeah, like I said, Xbox had like a fair bit, but some of these things aren't necessarily my kind of game. Some I didn't even bring up because it's like, well, I'll see how they go. But like, there was a lot of interesting things. Like there was this one game where it's like a Mexican sort of stealth squad based game, 2D, and that looks pretty interesting as well. So
Yeah.
it's good that we're getting more indie presentations. Oh,
Yeah.
and Moonstone Island is coming to. I think it's called Moonstone Island is coming to Switch soon. So, and that was like a little cozy farming, but also monster collecting game. And one of the monsters is a fishbowl with legs, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox had its. I know they had their obvious ones, like the new Dragon Age was announced, and I think they talked about the new Fable
Yeah, they changed the
was
name
announced.
of it.
And,
yeah, they showed a bit of like a lot of the stuff was like mostly sort of story stuff, like sometimes you might see something and it sort of looks like gameplay, but you're not seeing any UI, so you don't really trust it. It's actually gameplay.
Well, and Xbox has really got a reputation now of taking forever to release a game. Like I don't know what's going on with their development.
Starfield's getting an expansion this year. I didn't look at that at all because I don't care.
No,
maybe Jordan cares.
No,
the other one they bring up was South of Midnight, which I'll see how it is when it actually comes out because it's not till next year supposedly. But that one looked kind of cool. It was going for like a stop motion sort of aesthetic, but not actually being it. But then when it came into the action, and then it sort of looked kind of funny because they're a bit lower FPS when they're moving, really, to match that style. But some games it's like, well, I'll see how it is when it does eventually come out.
Yeah, plenty of. Well, that's the thing with some of these announcements is they're. I don't know it's kind of weird year this year, really. Like we had some really big bangers early in the year, and
and
now it's kind of like falling off a cliff. Like it seems like development is kind of behind, or I don't know.
I feel fine because, like I said, there's so many games for me that are coming out in June. Most of them are all re-releases, but there's a couple of new ones like Monkey Ball. And now some more games have gotten August dates. Steam World Heist 2, Cat Quest 3, Tropical Breach Wizards, the Court of the Lamb Alliance update is in August. Like that's all August for me. I've got at least one game for September down. And then then a lot of stuff got October dates. They did a lot of explaining what's in Metaphor ReFantazio, which I didn't watch just because I was busy. And I'm also like, well, I'm just gonna get I'm kind of sold on the game. I'm sure I can let the tutorials tell me about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm personally not at a loss for stuff to play that's new.
No, well, I'm in the same boat as many people who have played Rebirth in the sense of I'm in the post Rebirth funk of no video game will ever compare to Rebirth again. So I like, why even bother playing video games anymore? Like they're just ruined for me now.
You should have played something like that's got nothing to do with it, like a puzzle game or something.
That's what I've been doing. My son bought himself a MetaQuest 3 VR, so I've been tinkering around with that lately. Went back and played a few retro games because it's nice to kind of go back to games. I'm trying to finish up. I'm at the final boss of Final Fantasy X, and it's funny because I'm playing the I can't remember the Zodiac version. No, not the Zodiac. That's the 12. I can't remember what they called it. It's the remastered version. Yeah, the HD remaster. And it's funny because I knew that they had put all those like the boosts and all those bonuses in there, but I never found them in the game. Like I couldn't figure out how to turn them on, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just play. It's not a big deal. And so I'm like right at the final boss now, and I was in the menu trying to do something in the sphere grid, and I accidentally clicked on the wrong thing, and I ended up in the boost menu, and I'm like, Mike, it's been here this whole time. So I'm like, god damn it. So I guess if the final boss gives me any trouble, I can turn the boost on, I guess. But it was funny to just kind of discover that Casey gives me grief all the time because I have a history of just overlooking things in menus. So
I had that's one thing you have to be careful of when you do review though. For example, I'm playing East 8 way back on the Switch port, and I was like, man, the camera sucks. So then I like pause the game and I go in the menu and I'm like, there we go, I fixed it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just an option. Like this whole time I've been bitching about something and I could have just like fixed it.
Yeah, there's been times where I've been complaining about things.
You don't have the option. Sometimes you make, oh, this is just how the game is, and you don't think that you can change things. Did we want to talk about something else we both played, or are we?
No, we're over an hour now, so we could save. I know we got a couple games that we put on the script, but we can save for next week maybe. I technically I'm only halfway through the one game we're both playing, so probably gives me.
So you should finish it first, yeah.
Yeah, it gives I got probably an hour left of it, so I'll finish that for the next time we meet up.
And yeah, hopefully we hear some more game news from Nintendo, but at the very least, I'm working my way through the first Paper Mario now, so who knows? I might beat that before the Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance comes out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's another game I wouldn't mind picking up. I really liked it when it was on Switch, but it was funny because the whole time I'm playing it, I'm like, man, this game could be pretty amazing if it was on like a non-potato console.
That's why I'm getting it. That's why I'm getting on PS5, because I'm just like, I would like to see it pretty, you know.
Yeah.
But though I have to share my PS5, so that comes with a different problem with sharing, with an 80-hour game. So
yeah,
I'll get through it a bit at a time. At least now I should have some Switch games to play. Because I was feeling that where I'm like, I'm playing this game RPG. I've got a bunch of RPGs for my PS5, but on the Switch there's nothing else I feel like playing right now. So I don't have anything for when I can't play on the TV, but I can't really play handheld either because the baby just rips it out of my hands.
Oh yeah,
she's very, very forceful grip and shoving her face and then grabbing a crayon and drawing it on the Steam Deck. So like,
now you got two people in the house that you have to fight over video games with.
Yes, yeah. A difficult life, yes.
That's right. All right. Well, I guess this is probably a good place to wrap things up. Next time we meet, we'll have a game to talk about, and you'll have another rebuttal for Jordan. I know. Although I think you guys probably share the same thoughts on the other game, the 1,000-Year Door game that we'll have to talk about later on. But I guess for now we'll wrap things up. I want to thank everyone for listening, and you'll have to tune in. We still got, I know, for episodes coming up, we have the finale of Rebirth, kind of the conclusion or the kind of final summary of our Casey and I thoughts of going through that game. And then like Paige said, we'll have hopefully by the next time we record, the Nintendo Direct will be out, and we'll probably have some more information there. Not likely any Switch 2 information, since it made...
No, they said it was not going to be at the Direct, so
no,
sometime after this month and before March we'll find out. So
I'm thinking the February Direct of 2025 is when they'll talk about that. So,
and then they'll release it in Christmas the next year.
That's right.
It's gonna be... it might be a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks again for everyone for listening, and we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Bye.
Bye.